I'm very, very excited to have such a cross section of industries. I think I personally am very excited to take away the ubiquity of content, regardless of what industry you operate in, what vertical you operate in. And essentially, the question is: are you in the business of healthcare or fintech, or are you in the business of content? I think essentially that is the lens that we as business leaders have to put on, and with to essentially drive that key takeaway. I'll first essentially start off with one question, and I'll pose it to everyone, because you all have such unique perspectives given different verticals that you operate in. So how do you look at content to achieve some of the business goals? Because essentially as business leaders, we are there to take business from goal A to goal B. Right. So how do you look at that business goal, and how does content come in as a key lever for that? Shamik, we'll start with you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. Business is all about when you take a decision, right? You take a decision to buy something or choose something over others.
Correct.
And every decision needs information. Right? I think content plays that role, which enables you or strengthens you to take a decision with more confidence. So the question is, what type of content will help you to have that power? So the relevance of content is important, but primarily how I want to see is the content which can help you to take a decision.
Right. And given that you would want consumers to take a decision, to take a test from
I wrote this piece a long back, and I strongly believe that to be bought, you need to be, to be sold, it to be bought first.
Right.
Nothing can be sold if no one buys it.
Correct.
And to buy it, you need to have confidence.
Right.
And I think confidence comes from your knowledge, and that's content. And that's why I think content is a part of every company or every business. I think it's a relevant statement.
Right.
That's how I look at it. So to be sold, you need to be bought first.
No, that's a wonderful pitch that I will also take away. Absolutely. So Sairee, from you, how do you look at your business goals, and how does content come in?
Right. So first of all, good to see everyone, and happy to be here. Pepper's definitely one of my favorite companies in the ecosystem, and look, I think many years ago, all of us stopped living offline, and we all started living on the internet, and we barely can get off it, except for when we sleep, we're never off it. So essentially, irrespective of what we are selling, all our businesses are businesses of attention. We want that attention, and the only way to grab that attention is content. I was watching Coffee with Karan new season yesterday on Hotstar. I couldn't get to the fact that he's wearing red Gucci pants and red jacket, and he said what he said, but it got me, right. It got that, and I think every business out there is that, and I think as human beings our DNA has changed, and maybe somebody should do a study on that. We have become this, these sponges who are constantly absorbing morning, noon and night, how many scrolls, like when you look at your digital health checker. So the truth is, this is what we consume, this is who we are now.
Right.
And anyone who's not talking to us in this way is not going to be part of our world, right? So I think, irrespective of what I'm selling, this is how I'm going to be talking to the person on the other line. It could be a customer, it could be a partner, it could be a stakeholder, but everything is, this is the only path.
Correct. Got it.
Yes. Hi everyone. So same question. See, how we see content is very clearly a core belief. We have been here for 58 years as an organization, financial organization. Content is actually the story you tell yourself. So there might be 100 stories which have happened right now in this place. But there are 2 or 3 stories which I will go and tell myself, which might be very different from what Anirudh says to himself today. The story that sticks, I want to be part of that narrative when I'm trying to do a transaction. Right? Now, when I'm telling that story to myself or to my customer, is my intent only to sell or to help? Because what he said, if he has to buy first to sell, right? So for us, content creation starts from employees of what they are saying, because that's what they are going to sell to others. It comes second to the partners who are actually selling, because we have a huge partner ecosystem. And then to the customers of how to be part of that narrative. See, essentially for us, I am asking you to not spend your money today so that tomorrow you will have wealth. So I'm asking, don't buy into that Myntra sale today, or don't do what Zomato is asking you to spend today. So that one fine day, when you are old enough, to the audience who is YOLO, you only live once, and you have to max out today, and this is the 50% offer, which Pepper would give you great AI tool to deliver it, right? At the right attention, and Google and engineers trying to do. My job is to give them a content which will stand now and also the test of time. So I have two filters which we have to constantly check. Will this content stand test of time? And will this content stand out that it sticks what you said attention? So that's how we see it.
Right. No, very interesting to see how content is means very different things depending on the kind of business that you operate in, and then that sort of flows down into how you create content and you distribute content as well. So one question, Abhina, to you is that. The category that you operate in, right? There's lots of disruption happening. There are upstarts coming up. The regulatory framework changes. RBI recently did something to credit, and you see a lot of disruptions happening around, and the customer is also at some point confused, right? So how do you look at content to deliver the right message at the right time that makes you stand out? Like you said, the test of time. So how do you deal with that, disruption on a day-to-day basis?
So the fundamental thing for us starts with knowing that we are not hunters. So in our category, there are three kinds of people. There were miners. We were traditional miners. I had one family member, and we used to go deep down, sell them multiple things. There was a Mr. X who used to come every day to meet dad. And he used to give him policy, sometime LIC policy, then an insurance. And he was a common face at home. Everybody knew he will come on a Sunday, talk to the dad, and have that conversation. That is part of our narrative of growing up. Then there came hunters. Hunters used Google and FB, went on to do the ad, fueled by the investors. And they bought customer, which was CAC. And all as marketers, I have also done 2 startups. So all I used to talk about is CAC, right? And COCA, am I positive, EBITDA margin. And then comes the third part, which every one of us is trying, which is farming. Now, whoever cracks the farming code, the field is same. We have realized we need a phygital world. Right? People will still continue to do certain behaviors offline. Hotels, try getting a hotels on 13, 14, 15th August. Really just try it. If you can get some hotels, forget deal. You pay whatever you want, you are not having it. That's the fight which is there. So for us, we see this lens that are we able to farm the customer? And when you try to farm, you have to think of everything. You have to think of the land where they will do it. So whether it's a website or it's a magazine they are reading for me, or they are talking to my relationship manager, I have to think about what they are seeing when they are getting the content, when they get an SMS or a WhatsApp, right? And small challenge comes that a typical, 60 seconds OTP comes, and the moment you copy that OTP to send to enter there, that has expired, says resend. So all of us are actually trying to resend that OTP in financial world. And it's a classic case, like all of you may have tried to pay via a dot pay where or dine out actually, where you get deals now in Gurgaon. Every time you pay, the waiter comes to you and says, "Sir, can I take a photo of your phone?" of the payment that you have done. Right? Nobody is looking at that problem of solving because everybody is trying to do that solutioning, and we are very happy with the transaction number. So for us, content is trying to help the end customer who has been with me to take decisions that certain decisions do digitally, but for other certain decisions go around and use a human connect. And that's where our content game comes into play. And that's what we want to play at. Right? So realizing the DNA to deliver what we can. Right? I can't be grow. I don't want to be grow. Right? That's the game that we want to play.
Correct. So content for you is not just what we consume online on a digital channel, but also offline, the connect and the story.
I don't want to do a clickbait. I'm fine not doing a clickbait. I want to give deep content. All of us reads probably FS blog, right? Shane Parrish, and see the insights. We want to be deep with my customer. One customer, I want you to give me your mutual fund. I want you to give me your insurance. I want you to give me your investments in FD, bond, NPS. I want you to be with me for everything to know your net worth. I don't want 20 people to take one different thing. We want to solve this, and that's how our content is. Because you have done this, this makes perfect sense for you, and not the other way around. Because we can't play that game. Not that that game is wrong. We just can't play that game. That's not our DNA.
Correct. No, very interesting. So Shamik, one question to you. You know, talking about disruption. So, healthcare is suddenly at the center of our life, right? With COVID, there's GST taxation on. So there's just so much mind space that healthcare and how do we consume services, healthcare services. It has suddenly become so critical to our day-to-day life and decision making. So, how do you respond to that? You know, consumer behavior and how they, like you said, buy, right? So how do they buy into your content and your business? So how do you respond to that, given how consumer behavior is changing so dynamically?
Thank you. You know, healthcare is like that old man pushed onto a treadmill all of a sudden because for COVID, all of a sudden we need to run fast, and it's a paradigm shift. No, when it comes to healthcare, it's about life and death always. It's not only about life and death, but also about managing someone's mental state, right? Because you go to Google, say that I'm having a white patch on my skin, they'll say it might be a cancer. Right? And it's a scary thing. You will not sleep for 2 nights. You'll find a doctor, see 5 doctors. It's who takes care of that? So, when it comes to healthcare, content is very, 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 very critical. Right? Yes. I come from a hospital group which perhaps created the corporate hospitals in this country. I come from Apollo Hospitals, and if you spend some time with the chairman, you'll understand that there's a lot of responsibility that comes with healthcare, right? And we as a brand, we as a company, take this absolutely serious. We know there's always a trade-off between cost, quality, and time. Right. If you want to do things faster, you need to either increase your cost, spend a lot of money, or you have to make bad quality stuff. Right. In healthcare, quality is non-negotiable. Right? It's absolutely non-negotiable. So the only thing you have is you spend a lot of time, or you spend a lot of money. Right? So we chose over time, in the last 40 years, we said that let's work on quality, let's work with a lot of responsibility. The proof is that if you go to Google and search any terms like fever or sneezing or something, the content that comes on Google comes from Apollo Hospitals. You see Apollo Hospitals, the source, right? And that's the pride with which we make content. Because we know that people will take a decisions based on that. People will trust us, right? The proof of such, right? And what I'm trying to say is, it's a difference between quantity and quality, right? And it's always because I was talking to a few Alok and all, and the question was, how do you scale up? How do you get your SEO pages, man? You need to have thousands of pages. You need to. Yes. It never works. Let's give an example. There's a guy called Naman here. I think he was there. When we launched our company, we were trying to do a pilot. COVID stuck. We didn't know what to do. We were running away. So we went back to Apollo and said, hey, can you help us to do something? Because we don't have money to do a branding now. I think there's a lot of potential to do things. So they created something. They came back and said, we'll create a good content for you. I said, what? They said, we'll make a COVID scanner. What does that mean? We'll ask 15 questions and we'll tell people if there's a chance that you will have a COVID. And it was backed by data, a lot of science, a lot of doctors, right? And we made that COVID scanner. I'm sure everyone in this room used it. Yes. Because in 2 days' time, 15 million people in this country used that COVID scanner. And that got the, we got about 30,000 orders in the first 10 days. Right. And we don't know how to pass those orders, but we have. So if the content is of quality in healthcare, for sure, and if you are responsible, I think it really gives you a lot of space. We at Apollo, we take that very seriously. We are working on something called Ask Apollo. We already have that brand, and Ask Apollo is basically, it's completely a content platform which will help both patients and doctors to take better decisions, right? And it's a work of about 9 years that we're working on. You'll come to know more about it. So what I'm trying to say is, for healthcare, it's a little tricky. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. It's about taking the responsibility of someone's decision.
Right. Right. No, very interesting. So lastly, another question which I'll start with Sairee, you, and then I'll get others' opinion as well, which is that at Pepper we try to take a very product-first approach to solving the problem of content for businesses. Right? How you create it, consume it, and analyze it. So a part of that product approach is also how you analyze data around how content is performing and how it is delivering results to you. And then especially at Sheroes, which is a digital native enterprise that you have set up, what is your approach towards understanding what are the KPIs that content is good, bad, or ugly? So can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. So I think for us, so for folks who don't know, we basically now an entire ecosystem for what we call women's internet, a roll-up of sorts for women-only use cases online. But fundamentally, we're a community. That's really the core product. And when women come to us, they take away some form of support, whether it's mental health or whether it's legal or whether it's just hanging around in a peer group. But very tangibly, there's employment, entrepreneurship, and access to capital. Now, in our world, I think there's an article today on Reuters about Facebook's lack of, 72% Facebook population being men. And this trend is increasing because I think a lot of, pretty much like healthcare and financial services, and I think pretty much for any business, I think the currency of business today is trust. Right. So when we think of content, that's what we think. And one of the reasons as a company for us, content is very, very central. Because when I put an ad out, it looks like the same ad for every company. You might be a $1 billion enterprise or you might be a scammy little sweatshop. The ad looks the same. But when I put my words out, it carries a little bit of me, my DNA. Like when my mother asks me, "Aap log kya karte ho?" We say, "Hum mahilaon se baatein karta hai." That's really like the crux of what we're trying to build here. And for us, content needs to do that job. So while as a company, we really don't produce a lot of content as part of the core product, but it plays a huge role in doing everything else we do. Like for example, we now have a credit business. One of the huge content opportunities and challenges for us is to document the story of every loan user. So in a month, if we are handing out thousands of loans, we want to know, because these are women entrepreneurs whose story has never gone online. So building trust, building authenticity, and of course building measurable volumes. So if there are 25 million women across our network, then there are at least 25 million stories, if not more, right? So I think just the expanse of what this is massive. And just to add to, because this is a room full of folks who think about content, we are a company built on back of content. We till today don't have a performance team. I mean, we're trying to set up and failing miserably because we just don't have the DNA to do that, but we did it by producing content every day, social content, conversational reports, participation. I think whichever way we could build trust, authenticity, and obviously we're a platform, so most of our content is UGC, But our job is to make sure we attract the right lives, we attract the right trust, we keep that promise when that trust is sort of out there. So a lot of this is, and of course it's multilingual, so there is a little bit of a complexity there. But fundamentally, it needs to make people feel safe. Hey, this is my safe spot on the internet, and that's a hard one.
So Shamik, very quickly, what KPIs do you look at to measure, performance of content or quality of content?
Tough question, man. So how we look at it is that, let me take an example. I was sharing this example with you. When I was in class 10, I was given a project on Indus Valley civilization. And that time I had got 2 paragraphs about it, and that's all, right? There's no more content anywhere possible. That's all we had in the history group. So what I had to do, I was in Kolkata, I had to go to National Museum and talk to the museum manager or someone to get me something about Indus Valley civilization. He gave me something. He gave me about 5-6 pages, some photographs, and I was like, good man. So we came back and we put it. See, that was a time of scarcity. Scarcity, but the quality was not a question because you know that things are fine. You know that National Museum will not give you something which you cannot trust. But today, if a student of class 10 goes and puts it on Google and says Indus Valley civilization, he will get Indus bang to everything in the world and he don't know what to take, right?
Right.
So the problem now has shifted from scarcity to abundance. And it's a very different problem. And I think this is one generation, for the last 10-15 years, this problem of abundance has come.
Right.
It's all abundance, right? Everything and how to seize it. And in this era, I think the KPI only should be what she was mentioning about. It's trust and honesty, right?
Yeah.
It's a funny example. I was talking to one of our doctors and he said that any patient who comes to me saying that in Google I have seen this, I said that my fees is 1,500. And if you don't mention that, I take only 800. Because I have to answer him so many questions. It takes so much time because he's informed of everything that is not right. Right? And he comes in so much of mental agony. And so KPI is very simple. That how many people trust that content. We have a very clear matrix of people clicking onto that, talking and then engaging with us.
Right.
We have gone to a level where we can actually predict to a large extent as to what is actually happening in this person and then try to help him out and help her out. Basically that's what our role is all about because we are a strong believer that we don't have so many mates that people need in this country. We have to help people to manage their things, we have to help people from there. And that's what 24/7 is all about. That we have to make sure that we give the right content so that people don't come up to our hospitals. We don't have pets, right? And that's the biggest challenge that we have. So our KPI is very simple. It's, again, engagement, clicking and all, but at the end of the day, how many people we are taking care of in terms of, we do get about, we also don't have a performance marketing team. The only guy we had has left us. So it's mostly content, right? We get about 300,000 people every day. Every day, 300,000 people. We're a 2-year-old company who comes on our platform just for content and reads about it. We have Google who says that we'll tell you what topic to make. Please make the videos and give it to us, so that we can at least put the right authentic content. So there's no other currency except trust and honesty. And I think quantity. I'm not. It's personal, but I'm not a believer of quantity when it comes to content because you need to be sure to take a decision, and that can only come from quality.
Right. Got it. Very quickly, how do you measure the content of the quality of content, and then we'll just conclude the session.
So obviously, trust and honesty is something which we say, but it's very hard to measure.
Yeah.
Right. It's very something we keep talking about that it has brought trust. One matrix is engagement, but in a social world, especially when it comes to finance, it's very tough for us to measure engagement because the engagement that will give you really a high delta, what we call viral, right, is not actually a content which will give you business.
Yeah.
So I can have, like you gave a perfect example. Even I tried that COVID test when it was launched, and it was so amazing, right? Just to get that you are not, there are less chances of you having a COVID, right? So that happens once in a, blessings moment that everything matches. That's what I say. There has to be some blessing. But for us, what we do is we have been creating content as Investor India, which has been by way to do is get it from people who are actually doing it.
Right.
So we have a process where we vet all the content by the experts of that domain. So if I have to write a content of fixed deposit, right, I have to get it approved by a set of process that is there, which eventually helps, right, the user to take a decision.
Right.
Second thing that we have done, and this is what we are trying internally, we have started writing in our PPTs, there's so many PPTs that we have and Zoom meetings that we have, simple bhasha mein.
Right.
It is mandatory now. We write it. What does all of this mean simple bhasha mein? यहाँ click करूँगा तो यहाँ जाएगा तो ये होगा कि नहीं होगा? Because in the super jargonistic world that we live in, right, and especially in the category that we are into, finance, it is very necessary to be opaque. That's how the industry has been. Right? To make it transparent, say for example, if all banks start following their own advice, which is save now or save more, and they would never lend and they will not be out of business. So they cannot save. So they are giving me an advice which they can't follow because that's how their business model is. So for me, content is realizing that cross-sell has happened because of that content on my existing customer. So which all interaction did it take place? So we have our internal systems and we are able to measure through CRM that we use how many content connect, whether it's WhatsApp, SMS, and the journeys did they need to give me a cross-sell. Because I have a huge existing customer base. And that's the kind of content we want to create. So we will get a lot of engagement when we create a yoga of finance on a yoga day, which we also do, right, for attracting Gen Z, because Instagram, we are fighting that. But that is not the content that will give you business. What gave us really business is why investing in gold of your bonus is not a right strategy than investing in FD. Because of gold rates going there. This will give to that audience me business. Right? And not the other way around. And just to add one point, we have built a retirement business. So we have built a tool which allows an about to retiree, a 58-year-old, to create a 100-year cash flow plan of the investment they get. Right? So we have 9,000 customers who are 90 plus. They are not talking about digital. But when I talk to a 58-year-old, they want that I am getting a corpus of 50 lakhs. I am retiring this year, next year. Tell me where to put this money, that I keep getting money and not rely on my kids. We don't talk about that generation right now because it is not flashy and I don't look good. But last year, for Zoom, I had over 1 lakh about to retiree guys coming and attending my webinar. 2.5 hours listening, discussing, and that's the community we have built. And these people are now asking us, give us retiring homes. So Hayat is coming up with a property which is only for retirees, which will come 60 to 70 years you stay in this place, 70 to 80 you stay in this tower, and 80 plus this, and the facilities are like this, right? And there are startups coming in on the content game, which we are seeing. Like there is a startup I really want to mention, Khare, who is actually saying for all parents who are in India and their kids are outside, or we are sitting in Gurgaon and my mom dad are in Raipur, just give us and we will take care of all their medical and everything for this. So this people stuff of creating content of what you should do for your retirement when you get that money, and stop talking about SIP. Talk about systematic withdrawal plan. Every month you take 10,000 out rather than invest 10,000 is also a very big business. And we have obviously got our 1/3 of the profits coming from it last year. In the COVID time, when everybody said nobody wants to come, we built a fantastic community of retirees who just want to know where to talk, what to do, and they want content in Hindi and I can't produce. Right? Because the writer sitting out there has no understanding of something called Shivani ki kahaniyan. Because this content is somewhere global on a freelancer, and he's a very expert guy who is not able to give me a content which a tier 2 town guy wants to read. Right. So that is the challenge for those retirees who is not flashed by Instagram videos. You know, he has left Instagram, he's still in Facebook, still looking to the photos of friends on a 50th college celebration or something, right? So there is a business out there, a content to be created. So we range our content on basis where there is less competition, right? And it's tough to create. So that's how we have moved in this time on creating our content and judging. Am I able to give content to the guy whom nobody else want to cater to?
Right, got it. No, wonderful. I think these are all very interesting insights, and thanks a lot for your wonderful words and sharing your pearls of wisdom with us. I think we have established that every business is essentially a business of content, and it is critical to how we grow beyond. So thanks a lot for that.